Chapter 20, Lesson 3. In this lesson, we will talk about something called voltaic cells. In this chapter, we've been discussing a special class of reactions called redox reactions. And recall, this means reduction and oxidation happening together. And in this case, we have electrons being transferred from the oxidation side to the reduction side. So we're talking about transfer of electrons. And here we will show how the experiment can be set up to have our reaction produce electrical energy for us. The transfer of electrons, the movement of electrons, is actually going to produce for us energy. And that is what we will be seeing here. So we'll have to set up a special apparatus called a voltaic cell in order to do this. And inside your battery, you've got a voltaic cell set up. So here is what the general idea is. Here it says we can use the work that's produced by the electrochemical reaction if we allow the electrons to flow through an external device. So we're going to separate the two half reactions. This is actually kind of a crude setup, and after we separate the two half reactions, we can obtain a voltage, and this voltage will actually be producing energy for us. And that's why, so this is voltage. That's why it's called a voltaic cell. This is a way of arranging the reaction so that it gives us some voltage. So here is a simple discussion of what a voltaic cell is. You can actually make your own voltaic cell using a lemon, and what will happen is one side of the reaction will be doing the oxidation, the other side will be doing the reduction. Now here we see this half reaction, zinc becoming zinc 2+. If you recall, that's oxidation because zinc is being oxidized. So this is oxidation. And the other half reaction, the copper going from a +2 to a 0, is reduction. So now what we'll do is we're going to define the anode as the place where oxidation occurs and the cathode as the place where reduction occurs. So we will start using these terms, anode and cathode, from now on. Now the way to memorize this is the two vowels O and A go together, oxidation, anode, and the two constants C and R go together, reduction and cathode. So whenever we say, for example, here we could say this is the cathode of the battery. A battery has both an anode and a cathode. You can right away say that the cathode of the battery is where reduction is happening. So find your chemical compound, and that chemical compound must become reduced. That's kind of the idea. And vice versa on the anode. So here is a setup of a voltaic cell, a detailed setup, kind of a chemical setup with beakers and so forth. And then this will be put together into a battery. So let's analyze some of these components. What we have is we have in this beaker the oxidation half reaction, zinc becoming zinc 2+. In this beaker we have the reduction half reaction, copper 2+ becoming copper. And notice we've balanced for the reaction by adding electrons. In fact, in the oxidation half reaction, electrons are being released, and in the reduction half reaction, electrons are being absorbed. That's why the species becomes reduced. What we will do then, and the oxidation and reduction is literally happening at the surface right here. So here the reduction is happening. The copper 2 ions from the solution actually get attracted to the copper metal, and they plate onto the metal. And on this side, the zinc 2+ actually comes off of the metal and goes into the solution. So as the zinc 2+ goes into the solution, it releases electrons. That's because it's becoming oxidized. The electrons then that are released will flow through an external circuit, and here they are. They're flowing this way and down into the copper. And the copper then can reduce the ions in the solution. So that's kind of the general setup. We've allowed the two half reactions to occur separately, and we're garnishing the electrical energy produced by the two. There's one last component that's necessary. Well, first of all, we're connecting it through a voltmeter so we can read the voltage. But you can put, instead of a voltmeter, you can put a lamp, for example, a light bulb, and the light bulb will, you know, that doesn't look very much like a light bulb. Pretend it's a light bulb. And the light bulb will light up because energy is being given to the light bulb. The last piece here is the salt bridge. This guy is actually called the salt bridge. And the salt bridge is there to make sure to balance for the ions that are lost in the oxidation and reduction half reactions. So anytime copper 2+ in this reduction half reaction goes onto the metal, we're losing positive charges because we're constantly reducing. So what we have to do is we have to replenish the beaker with fresh positive charges, and that's supplied by the sodium plus, which exists in the salt bridge. Likewise here, the zinc 2+ is, or the zinc is becoming oxidized to zinc 2+, so we're constantly gaining positive charges. We must balance that out by the nitrate from the salt bridge. So these essentially flow in automatically by themselves. If the salt bridge were not there, the reaction would actually stop. It would not proceed. So this is why it says that the movement of the cations is to the right, because we have to replenish positive charge being lost here. The movement of the anions is to the left. We have to replenish negative charge being lost, you can say. And that's the general setup of the voltaic cell. So this is kind of an explanation of what we just went through. So this shouldn't be too much more information. Take a look at that. So why don't we try a little example. Before we try the example, actually, well, it turns out we're going to take this. So this is kind of the same thing compressed now. If you take a look at what we just saw, this is now put together in a battery. Your salt bridge becomes this porous barrier, and then you have yourself a cathode portion to the battery and an anode portion to the battery. So the exact same thing is happening. Electrons are being created, you can say, at the anode, because remember we said that oxidation occurs at the anode. Oxidation and anode. So this is happening in this half cell. And so the electrons are being produced. They go through an external circuit and come into the cathode portion. Remember, cathode goes with reduction. And the electrons are essentially accepted at this portion. And this salt bridge is now just a little separation wall. And that a battery must be compact, especially small batteries, but the same thing really happens in a battery. And then this would be connected through any device. You can connect any device that's needed. So this concludes. This is a short video. This will conclude for us lesson 3 of chapter 20.